And I'm going to cover some IHE USA works on helping the EMS community work with IHE profiles. I'm really going to cover just a short couple things, a little bit of a background on document sharing, not much. I'm mostly going to look at the paramedicine care flow and then kind of just show you that the routine interfacility patient transport is covered as well. So a little bit on document sharing, I'm not going to touch on everything, but it is foundational to cross-enterprise and cross-community health information exchanges. This is the specification that's used globally. It's what Commonwealth, Care Quality, eHealth Exchange, and many states are based upon. Even the DIRECT project is founded in the fundamentals of document sharing. Common within health information exchanges is that medical summaries are published by care providing organizations, and discharge summaries are published when a patient gets discharged. So these are readily available in these health information exchanges. Other formats are possible. The document sharing system is not limited to CDA. Things like PDF, FAIR documents, DICOM, images, anything really. It is patient-centric, so there is within the family of implementation guides, IHE profiles, is solutions for patient identity matching and discovery, security, privacy, system discovery, etc. So what I've done is I've put together a prototypical implementation guide. It really hasn't gone into the details, but it does have a lot of details that you'll see in the next couple of slides. This is just a screen capture of the implementation guide to give you a feel for what I am going to be covering. Within this, you can see that the ambulance and the hospital are communicating content. They're communicating it through the Health Information Exchange Query Retrieve model. And within this publication, there's links to various white papers and such. In this implementation guide, there is a menu, the purple menu, that you can get to the pages that I'm going to have more excerpts from, or you could use the next previous buttons off on the right. So again, just purely on document sharing, this is a diagram of content consumption. Essentially, there is a patient discovery section covered by profiles like XCPD or PDQ or PICS. There is a query for documents, a mechanism of saying, hey, what documents do you have available? Within that, you can further constrain using query parameters. So, hey, I only want medical summaries, or I only want discharge summaries. And ultimately, you get back a list of possibilities with metadata. The metadata explains what kind of a document is it, who authored it, why did they author it, where did they author it, and those kinds of things. And then the third thing that you do is you pick which one of those you want, or multiples, and you can retrieve the document. Ultimately, you're retrieving it from wherever it is stored. This diagram shows that it's being retrieved from the Health Information Exchange, but it might actually be available in the source authoring organization, and the technology for retrieving it from there is all built into these specifications from IHE. There is publications and there are push workflows. I'm not going to get into these very detailed because I really want to focus on the next couple of slides, but ways in which you can push content in a way that it is understood. Hey, why did I push this? Who pushed this? What is the patient? Those kinds of things. And there's also ways to just publish things to be used either for a specific purpose, like a referral request, or for availability in the future, like the medical summaries or the discharge summaries, and there's mechanisms for that. So in the EMS community, as I understand it, there is this paramedicine care flow summary, and essentially it looks much like this. This is higher level from what we just got done discussing. So patient lookup, You saw that PD workflow on some previous slides. Query for documents and retrieve the document. That would be the consumption slide that I showed a little bit ago. You then utilize the medical summary to treat the patient, ultimately producing a transport summary document that you need to get to the hospital so that they know all of the parameters that were learned during this paramedicine episode. Ultimately, the hospital discharges the patient, presumably, and a discharge summary is produced. That can be discovered, queried, retrieved, and retrieved by the ambulance organization. That discharge summary information can be used to create the NEMSIS PCR, which can then be pushed over to the state. That's the high level. We'll get into a little bit more detail. Here's the more detail. Don't worry, I'm going to show you this in two parts. So first, I'll focus on the top half. Again, as I described, you're basically going to do a normal patient discovery. And again, this is a simplified view in step 1. Step 2, you review the results of the number of patients that you might have gotten back. Some patients will come up with exactly one instance, especially if you provide an identifier. But if you can only provide demographics, you may get multiples back. So you have the availability to look through those in step 2. You then pick whichever one is the best patient, and you can do a query for things like medical summary. In this case, there is a LOINC code for medical summaries. You look it up by LOINC 34133-9. It's likely, that you'll get back what's called an on-demand document entry. On-demand document entry is a kind of entry that says, hey, I don't have the medical summary, but I will make you a fresh one if you ask for it. You always want fresh medical summaries because stale information is not all that important. But this means that you can do a retrieve of that document and you will get a freshly made medical summary. There are other mechanisms you'll see later on that are not on demand, but in this case, medical summaries tend to be on demand. You can then, from the list, you might also have multiple choices of medical summaries for which you probably want to pick, whichever one has the freshest data or whichever one the patient says, oh yes, I've been to them lately, or that is my primary care. So you may want to choose which of those medical summaries you want to pull, and you retrieve the document in step 6. Use that medical summary however you want to. I'm not an expert in EMS, but presumably there will be some information. Presumably your technology automatically pulls out of there the information that you need, and you're not actually looking through a CDA document by hand. At some point, you're going to be approaching the hospital. Presume you would then push the transport summary, this paramedicine care summary, PCS. IHE has that profiled for you. The hospital can then admit the patient, deal with the patient. Presumably at some point in step 11, the ambulance would receive some kind of admit details. Maybe there is a local identifier in the hospital for this patient. This is an area that's not as well defined as we would like, because for the most part IHE hasn't dealt with EMS workflows. So the fact that it's red just simply indicates that, hey, this is something we haven't really touched upon yet. I then just kind of go to the next one. You'll see this starts with that red section, so you kind of see where I am in this. My understanding is the next thing that the EMS community wants is to get the discharge summary so that they can fill out the NEMSIS PCR details. Discharge summaries are pretty common within health information exchanges. Look for 18842-5. You might be able to constrain the query to, published after right now, because you don't really want old discharge summaries. You might be able to use the admit details to even nail it down to that emergency room admission. And there are document content profiles available. XDS Medical Summary has a discharge in it. CDA has a discharge summary in it. Either of those will be well-formed CDA, but essentially you want the discharge summary. So you could either subscribe if you're in an XDS environment, that subscribe alternate there, or you just simply poll, and you poll, I don't know if it's once a day you need to look for these or what have you. Polling isn't all that hard, especially if you know exactly what you're looking for. It's not yet available, patient still being treated. It's not yet available, patient is still being treated. Eventually the hospital discharges the patient. They publish a discharge summary. When you query, hey, here it is available, so you go ahead and retrieve that document. And in this case here, you see that step 19 is pulling it from the hospital based on the metadata that it got in step 18 from the HIE. You're going to extract whatever information it is you need. You're going to insert that into your Nemesis PCR. Those are things I'm not an expert in. And then you're going to deliver that PCR to your state. So you report to the state. So my understanding is this is the way in which a document sharing health information exchange can aid the EMS community. I think a lot of this is theory, so I'm worried, when it comes to reality, but that's what we're here for. The routine interfacility transport looks very much the same. I'm actually not going to zero in on it because it looks almost identical. It's just that the content that you deliver to the hospital upon arrival is a different specification from IHE. And potentially, what you do is different. In this case, you sure probably don't have a John Doe, but we still, want to get you the admit details. So ultimately, in doing this exercise, some gaps become pretty obvious to me even. The Jane or John Doe case is not handled well because IHE just simply hasn't been asked to look into that. The communication of registration details so that you can find the discharge summary. We really haven't been asked to do that kind of thing, but that's something we could do. There certainly is a need to work out what is the mechanism that would be best accepted on how the EMS community gets their content over to the hospital. Is this through a publish? Is this through a push? That is yet to be worked out. Most important to me is something that's really policy. It's not really IHE, and that is to get this EMS community connected to health information exchanges. There is a big advantage to connect at the nationwide. One connection can get you access to every single treating facility in the United States. You don't have to do a one by one, hospital by hospital by hospital. You connect at the nation level, and now no matter what hospital you're approaching, their data is available. No matter what hospital you're approaching, you can publish your content and they can come get it. And then, of course, there's this question of, are there other gaps that might come up? We don't know. We got to get deeper into this. This is a slide that just is some additional resources. Surely you probably can't quickly type things up. The HIE white paper is probably the most important one to quickly type. profiles.ihge.net/ITI/HIE white paper. Much of everything else that you see in here is in that white paper. That white paper covers document sharing. That white paper covers how to find a bunch of things. So it's really the key. And then the implementation guide prototype that I have built all of this stuff in is available on the link at the bottom of the page, build.fire.org/IG. John Murky, that's me. IHE/EMS overall, and you'll see the details. You'll be able to click on links in there. You'll be able to drill down in there. Again, my name is John Murky. I am co-chair of the IT Infrastructure Committee in IHE. I am a co-chair within HL7, a member of the Fire Management work group, and have been involved with IHE and HL7 and fire since their beginnings. Thank you.